And welcome everybody to the Final Yard here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am your host, Louis Sung. I am joined by Eric's Squared, Eric Wiedeke, and Coach Eric Smith. Ethan Skolnick will be arriving shortly. We should also have Ron Caniff coming a little bit later as well. We can finally discuss something at least a little bit positive. The Miami Dolphins actually won a game. We didn't think it could happen at this point, but it looks like they actually managed to not lose this time. The Miami Dolphins coming up on top of the New England Patriots on the road, I might add. Dolphins 15, Patriots 10. We're going to get into everything that we saw during this game, of course. But first, we have to mention that, as always, this show is brought to you by our good friends, the official sponsors of the Final Yard postgame show here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, the Real Estate Shoppe.
The Final Yard is sponsored for the entire 2024 Dolphin season by the Real Estate Shoppe. Before you make a final decision about who should be your real estate broker, make sure you reach out to Amanda Martin and Javier Iglesias, the dynamic duo leading the Real Estate Shoppe, which combines market expertise with a passion for community and personalized service. They offer honest and professional real estate services, guiding buyers and sellers with integrity and a client-first approach. From pricing to negotiation, they ensure every step is smart and transparent. They operate in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. They understand the local markets like no one else. Their deep knowledge of these areas helps clients navigate the complicated nuances of home ownership in South Florida. So reach out to them. Again, it's the Real Estate Shoppe. You can find them on Instagram at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. That's 954-268-9812. Before you make a final decision about real estate, reach out to the Real Estate Shoppe.
Now we have the man responsible for that read on the show. Hello, Ethan.
I'm also responsible for the game. Because what did I say pregame? What was I say 13-10?
You said 13-10, but I mean, listen, man,
Almost
it was seconds away from it not being that. That's a controversial non-toe tap away from being another Miami loss here. So, but we do want to at least give the Dolphins credit for one thing. They did manage to get scrappy, and I'll give credit to Mike McDaniel for realizing that sometimes going for it on fourth down is not the play. Just take the points when they're there. And quite frankly, the fact that he did take the points while they were there is probably the reason Miami won this game instead of ending up losing by a score of, instead, Miami Dolphins 12 and Patriots 13. So let's be real about that right there. So I'm going to go ahead and give him credit where it's due. Aaron Anders, a win is a win, I guess. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is exactly what we were looking for to some extent. We wanted to see adjustments. We wanted to see changes be made. And regardless of who it was against, I know the Patriots are an absolute trash football team this year. Right now, so are we. But the fact of the fact of the matter is, Mike McDaniel, instead of going for it on fourth down and just trusting that his guys had it in him, he came to the realization, you know what, these guys are not likely to get the job done. I'm going to take the points where I can get them. And that's why we're here. Let's not beat around the bush about it. We are here talking about a Dolphins win because McDaniel realized, you know what? This is not a good idea. Take the points, and we won the game because of it.
Well, and also he trusted the running game for change. And that's kind of what I want to pivot to because Wright, Mostert in particular, obviously A-Chain out. And I saw what you tweeted, Coach Smith, about, this offense is better suited for Wright anyway. It's felt like that. Considering the fact that they can't seem to find another wideout, would it make sense to get H8 once he's back after the concussion, more stuff split out wide and just feature Wright more at this point?
I would say, yeah. I mean, that was the way that I envisioned H.N. when they drafted him, was being more, we've talked previously about that F position that gets moved around the offense, and I felt like that was the role that H.N. was drafted into. And then with the injuries last year, he was forced into a bigger role and showed that he is a capable running back. But as we've seen time and time again, when we give him the ball a lot, he's going to break down. He's not a big back. So, when you have somebody like Wright who has a bigger frame and is more suited to this type of running game, that's the kind of guy that you want to have as your tailback, your deep back, the one that you're hand the ball off to on these zone runs that can stick his foot in the ground and, run through arm tackles and get those tough yards. So I don't know about featuring Wright, but in combination with Mostert, I would like to see Wright as a tailback more often than Achane as we move forward in the season. But that's not phasing Achane out of the game. Achane's still going to impact the game. I think just getting the ball in different ways is, important.
Eric, when you look at the defensive performance today, obviously this Patriots team is not very good. We talked about it. They don't have any weapons on the outside. Steven,
Ethan,
ended up getting the ball to the
you sound like you're drowning.
Oh, really? That's weird. Okay, I'll reset. You take over for a bit.
All right. So just to follow up on Coach Eric talking about Jalen Wright and Raheem Mostert, I need to go ahead and I just need to break this down here, because as much as I love seeing Jalen Wright and I like seeing him get those snaps in, I know that Eric with the W here is thrilled about Jalen Wright getting some snaps. Do you still have him on your fantasy team, Eric, or did I miss you getting him dropped?
I don't recall. I might still have him hanging around there somewhere.
Well, you may want to start using him if this keeps up. But I need to go ahead and I need to give credit where it's due. Raheem Mostert came in and he acted like a bruiser that we needed him today. Like Raheem Mostert, I can remember he had a really big game against the Patriots last season running the football, and he did it again. He was basically the spark that this team needed, because as improved as Tyler Huntley was throwing the football today, it was the run game that did the job. And that's exactly what I was wanting. I wanted them to run the football. I wanted them to just be bigger than the guys in front of you. And even though there was a lot of finesse still, there was a lot of just trying to finagle people into open holes, and it worked, thank God. The fact of the matter is the running game was what made the difference. Mike McDaniel finally committed to it. It seemed like, and that opened up what few passes there were that actually worked for Tyler Huntley, because again, you start to realize just how much Tua means to this offense whenever you see any other quarterback besides him in it. Huntley was serviceable. Huntley brings athleticism that he didn't use that much today. I personally would have preferred to let him just take off and run rather than try to squeeze it into some holes. But the fact that they were running the ball so well did open things up for Huntley, which is good, because Huntley's accuracy is nowhere near what Tua's is. There was a lot of throws that Huntley just missed, and that's the funny thing, is that we look at those misses and think, yeah, that's something that you're going to expect sometimes with Huntley. With Tua, it's very uncharacteristic. Huntley, not so much. But they were able to move the ball today. And I don't know how much of that you take off of the Patriots defense just being bad. John Green bringing up, let's not forget the significance of Ingold. Listen, Alec Ingold, he was a bulldozer today. Like we talk about Raheem Mostert, we talk about Jalen Wright. We can't forget about Alec Ingold. He scored Miami's only touchdown today, and he was the one who facilitated getting all those yards that the other guys got so he could score that touchdown. So if it weren't for Alec Ingold, we also would not be sitting here today talking about a Miami Dolphins win. Like that man, give that man the MVP of the game, because him just leading the blocks, getting in front of everybody. Without Alec Ingold, we're not here today either.
Well, I mean, the thing too is that that's one of the reasons we've talked about why does McDaniel not trust, a little bit more of a power running game, because they have a fullback who can execute a lot of the stuff he needs executed. So that's been one of the odd things here. I mean, look, the way I look at it too is, I don't know when I was gone how much you guys talked about the defense. I mean, I think we've seen pretty much that unless the offense puts the defense in absolutely horrible position, the defense has made enough plays this year. I mean, they've done a good job in general, I think, and I love the call from Weaver bringing pressure there at the end. I mean, if you're going to lose that way, I mean, the Patriots not a team that was probably going to beat you over the top. So I think Weaver, I'd grade him a B+ or better so far in Miami, and that's been like the one positive to me in the season.
And we welcome Ron Canish to the show to discuss everything that we saw today. Ron, Miami won. I can't be as excited as I would like to be, just because at the very end there, I was thinking to myself, oh, here we go. I'm about to talk about a loss. But whether they discuss the toe tap or not, or what the rules in the back of the end zone mean as opposed to the sidelines, apparently there's a different rule if it's the back of the end zone. I didn't know that. I thought it was just 2 toes in. That's the end of the discussion. I did not know that the back of the end zone was different than every other spot on the field. But what are your initial thoughts based on everything that you saw here today? Is there still hope? Are we still in this for when Tua returns, or are we still like watching? Are we still on life support here?
No, I think we're still in this. If we can sneak out this win against Indy after the bye, get a couple guys back. I really like what the defense doing, and I just kind of came in and heard what Ethan was saying, and I was sitting there begging them. I was like, "You have to blitz. You have to blitz." And I remember so many times under Fangio, I would say that were the situations were 100% obvious. You absolutely have to blitz, and he still wouldn't, and we'd blow it. And you saw him here do it, even when it went to 4th and 15, I think it was, or it was a 15-yard they had to get the first because of a penalty. And I'm like, you still have to blitz. You can't just let him stand back there. And he made the right call. Weaver did it. He blitzed, and that was the way to go. So I was happy to see that. McDaniel, he decided, let's be conservative. As many said, he wouldn't change his ways, quote unquote. He wouldn't change the way he was calling the game. He ran the ball a ton. I would imagine, I hadn't seen it, but I guess we ran it a bit more than we threw it, or at least it was close. In the second half, it was definitely more running than throwing. He punted when he needed to. He went for field goals when he needed to. Did we go for 1 4th down in this game? I don't know that we went for 1 4th down in this game. I think he punted, kicked the field goal on every single 4th down. So that was what you needed to do to go get a win against, obviously a struggling Patriots team. And we started to shoot ourselves in the foot a few times, but then we would recover. And the run game is really what helped here, man. We got Mostert going. He looked much crisper than he did week 1. He looked kind of slow in that Jacksonville game before he got hurt anyway. He looked much crisper, and Wright was the right pick. Like, he was really good. He was very helpful in this game. And McDaniel didn't go away from it this time. Like, these guys were running the ball, and they kept running the ball. That one drive, it was like almost exclusively runs. So a lot of positives in this game. I understand we didn't blow it out. We only scored 15 points and whatnot. A lot of stalled drives, only 1 touchdown.
For us, that is a blowout.
Yeah, they did what we needed to do based off, the way that we've played lately. I was very happy with it. We produced more offense, didn't get a lot of scoring, but definitely produced more offense, and I thought it was a pretty decent game.
What do you guys think as we go forward with Huntley? Because Piers will be probably after the bye, one more game, and then we sort of see what happens after that. What do you think they can do to make him more comfortable? I'll let either of the Erics take this, because it still feels like McDaniel's afraid to turn it loose with him for obvious reasons.
I think.
Okay, go ahead.
What they need to do. Go ahead. Oh, yeah. It seems like what they need to lean into, number one, is they need to continue to lean into the run game for one, rather than, trying to run the offense pre to an injury with Tyler Huntley. The second thing that I think they need to do is they need to lean into some of the shorter over the middle patterns where you would see Tyler Huntley step up into the pocket and there was somebody 5 yards down the field just sitting in an empty spot in the zone, easy pitch and catch. They need to run more of those routes. The throws to the outside I didn't quite love as much from Huntley today. I think that he was really good when using the middle of the field for the most part. And you have to use the perimeter to an extent, but he's just so much better over the middle than on some of those, throws where he's kind of got a longer delivery, releasing the football, and it takes a little while to get out there on some of those throws towards the sideline. So I think you got to use the middle of the field more when you're talking about Tyler Huntley in this offense. Give him an opportunity to use a Jonnu Smith just sitting 5 yards down the field on a hook, something, just give those types of routes to Huntley and let his athleticism in the pocket do the rest.
Eric Smith, what do you think he has to show for the Dolphins to be interested in actually retaining him as a possible backup long term?
I think just a better understanding of the offense. I thought he did a pretty good job of that today. He's clearly not a guy that's going to progress through reads and be able to fire the ball accurately to his, third or fourth read really felt like when the initial read wasn't there and he had to start getting off platform, he wasn't using his legs as much as I'd like. And his throws, he was throwing off platform, just kind of throwing jump balls to Tyreek and stuff like that really weren't that accurate. So I would say that for me to feel comfortable with him continuing to be the backup to Tua, he needs to continue to understand what the different motions mean, what the different route combinations mean, because when he was able to run that play action, drop back and just let it rip, he was pretty accurate with that, looked pretty good. But anytime that initial read wasn't there, it didn't look great. And kind of to Eric's point, he did a good job of early in the game using Jonnu Smith over the middle, short routes, stuff like that. I think that was because the Patriots linebackers were probably playing a little bit deeper. But then as they started to run the ball better, those linebackers started to creep up some. And then you saw Huntley able to hit some of those passes to specifically Tyreek Hill behind them. And I think that's, where that has to continue to go to, that they just have to take what the defense is giving them. So that would be my answer as to what Huntley would need to do to be the backup going beyond when Tua returns, is just to continue to display an understanding or, the concepts of the motions, the route combinations, and what that means, so he can get that ball out early, because when he holds on to it seems to be where things don't look nearly as good with him.
Mike, you had strong opinions, I think the last time you were on Postgame, about the regime, the organization, the direction. Did anything happen today change your view on anything at all?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? I don't even know if I'm
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, good. Awesome. All right. We actually found out that Mike McDaniel could actually change up his play calling a little bit. This is something I asked him to do like 2 weeks ago. Just slow down the offense, play more ball conservative. Don't quit playing Madden, basically. Don't go for it on fourth down all the time. Run the ball, lean on your defense, have some conservative play calling. Just slow it down a little bit. You don't need to be going up tempo, fast offense that's bombs away. No. Just chisel away, lean on the run, pound it. That's something I asked him to do 2 weeks ago. He finally caught on to it. I don't think they forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they did a lot of jet motion today. It just seemed like they kind of started understanding their quarterback, which was Tyler Huntley, and trying to figure out like what he was comfortable doing, what were his strengths. And then we got to see a lot of Jalen Wright and some really physical drives towards the end of the game to chew up clock and finally get a touchdown on the board to take the lead. So I guess there's some hope there that Mike McDaniel could change his ways. And I'm hoping for that to continue. Just be smarter. Just play to the strengths that your team has right now.
Yeah, don't ask guys to do things they can't really do, which
exactly.
And run a system they can't really run, which has been the issue with the guys who have been in there. I want to ask, by the way, just Eric Smith, the play where Ramsey gave up the what was the slant what was the fourth down player?
Yep. Skinny post.
Yeah, skinny post. What was the coverage there? Was he supposed, to give him that much space?
It almost had to be man coverage. There was no linebacker to that side, so with no inside threat there, I don't know if they had seen that look before and expected a completely different route. But you could see pre-snap with, as far as Ramsey was playing off and no inside help there, like that was almost easy money. Even if he didn't get a first down, they were in 2-down territory there, and that was going to get them close to the marker. They ended up getting the first down there, but I don't know. It just didn't make sense how far Ramsey was playing off with no inside help in that situation, because you could see pre-snap that if Brissett did not go there, then you'd really wonder what he was thinking.
Ron, tell me what you've liked so far about Anthony Weaver and what may concern you, if anything.
I noticed this in preseason, and I still say that there seems to be very few communication issues, which is impressive for a brand new installed defense. This team is going through another install. Really, the defense is for the third one in 3 years, and we've seen bumps and bruises with the others, and this one not as much. That's one of the big things. I love that he blitzes a lot. Kind of don't have a choice now. No Chubb, no Phillips, but I like that he does it anyway. He just seems to really just know when to dial him up, how to dial him up, where to dial him up from. I think that's one of his biggest strengths. And I've just liked the way he's called the games in the game, and the second halves for the most part have just been so much crisper and stronger than the first half, which you can't underestimate and understate the value of being able to get your team to make those adjustments and play better in the second half versus the first half. It's been a big difference in this defense this year.
Who do you think's been their best defensive player, Eric?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking me.
No. You jump in too.
Sealer, man.
Yeah.
Beast.
Yeah, another sack today early on. Actually, the one guy who's been the positive upside surprise for me has been Agba, for the most part. Like, to have a bounce back year, like he's really didn't fit into the last scheme. This comes in for Mark. Good win, but I'm going to need to bleach my eyes after that. The offense sucks. They are hard to watch right now. But again, that's kind of, Mike, what you're talking about. It's okay to be hard to watch. You just had to get a win. Like,
it's okay if it's boring.
I'll say this. I'll say this as far as the offense goes. When you consider really how many points they kind of left on the table due to really egregious errors, and I'll be the first one to admit, everyone's kind of praising Mike McDaniel for kicking the field goal on 4th and 1. I wanted him to go for it because at that point I had no trust in the Dolphins special teams because they had the bad snap, they had the missed field goal. And so I was like, man, I don't know about a 49-yard field goal at this point. And Mike McDaniel, that's the one time he decides to take the points. It works out in his favor. But they left a good amount of points on the table in this one. Probably six because I can't forecast any touchdowns for them. But you think about how well they were kind of moving the ball and how often they were in field goal range and in Patriots territory. And when you take it from that perspective, it's actually a lot more encouraging offensively.
The special teams, are we at the point where this should be Crossman's last year, Ron?
I was sitting here thinking while you were talking, I don't know if McDaniel is the fire a coach in season guy, but if he is, Crossman may be gone tomorrow. I mean, it was that atrocious on the special teams, and some of these errors were just terrible. That the special teams more than the offense almost is what almost cost us this game. Honestly, it really was. It was just some really bad flubs on special teams, and we've been seeing it more and more from them. So I don't know. I don't know that though that McDaniel is that guy that will fire a coach in season. We'll make a change. He's only been here 2+ years, and we've never seen him do it before. We've seen him kind of take over, like the first year before Butch Berry was here. The offensive line, the coaching was terrible, and we saw him kind of take that coach and kind of put him on the back burner and put somebody else in. But that's a position coach. We're talking about a unit coach here, so I'm just not sure what he'll do.
Let me ask you guys this. I'm just anybody can jump in on this. Mike, Lewis, and then I've got to run here. But we appreciate everybody joining us on the final yard today. When you look at what McDaniel has set up here in terms of a staff, are you guys comfortable with kind of the coaching that these guys are getting generally?
What I'm not comfortable with, and I tweeted this out, and I feel like that there's some semblance to what's going on here today. I don't know what it is about this coaching staff, because you have a bunch of really well-respected names on there. Frank Smith is well-respected throughout the league. Darrell Bevell, very respected throughout the league. McDaniel was the new hot up-and-coming guy. Anthony Weaver obviously doing a pretty darn good job as far as the coaching goes on defense, just because it looks like they're doing a good job. My problem, and I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know where it stems from. I don't know who's in charge of running this. But Jordan Poyer, his wife is Rachel Bush, right? That's her name. Yeah. She let the cat out of the bag a couple weeks ago. These guys don't practice very hard. Like, these guys don't put in a ton of work. These guys do not push themselves to the limit in practice. Because think about the comparison that was made before Jordan Poyer got here. He even went to the media. He spoke during media availability during the offseason and said the perception of the Dolphins outside of the team, the actual Dolphins, the perception throughout the league was that if you just put some pressure on them, you punch them in the mouth and they crumble. And for the most part, that has turned out to be true. Now, a couple weeks later, the season begins, and now you see the Dolphins start to get on a skid, and here comes Jordan Poyer's wife, who I'm sure Jordan Poyer talks to on a regular basis, among other things. And she comes out and she tweets out that these guys don't practice very hard. And just think about that for a second. They're not putting in the work. I don't remember what the exact tweet was, and I'm almost sure that if I look back, it probably wouldn't be there anymore. But everybody remembers that it came out. These guys don't push themselves to the limit in practice. We see all these veteran rest days. We're trying to make sure that they're fresh and healthy for the game. Does it really matter if they're healthy, if these guys end up not doing their assignments correctly because they haven't put in enough practice anyway? Who cares if they're fresh? I'd rather these guys be tired but know their assignments than these guys be fresh and they're just stumbling around wondering where they're supposed to be on every single play. That is the difference here. And I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's the players who dictate it to McDaniel and say, you know what, coach, I'm not really feeling it today. I don't really want to practice. And then McDaniel says, sure, why not? I don't know if it's McDaniel just saying, you know what, I'm going to make sure that you're fresh, so I'm keeping you out of this for now. I don't know if that's it either. But this team, if they want to be able to continue to win throughout the season, whether Tua's there or not, these guys have got to practice. These guys have got to push. These guys have got to show that they can take the heat. And so far, again, they look unprepared. They look like they're having to stumble and bumble their way to everything good that happens to them. Even Blake, like I don't want to really highlight this per se because this is something that I feel like it's a little unfair. But if even Blake Ferguson is messing up his snaps and we can't even kick a field goal because we can't handle it, there's something wrong there. Like there's just something fundamentally wrong with how this team is being coached from that perspective. They're not prepared. It's not a question of whether they know it in their heads. They're not prepared. They're making key mistakes in key situations. And it's either because they haven't drilled it enough or they're not paying attention. One or the other is unacceptable. So, Mike, I'll go ahead and I'll go to you on this one. The coaching, since we're talking about the coaching, what's your biggest issue right now with the coaching? Is it something along the lines of what I brought up, or do you have something else you'd like to hone in on?
I would like to just defend special teams for a second. I mean, against the Seahawks, the special teams were actually getting the job done. They kept giving punting back and giving the Dolphins some good. The Seahawks some. I'm sorry. They started. Special teams started punting the ball and giving the Seahawks a very long field in order to go down the field and score points. So I thought they were pretty good in the Seahawks game. Against the Titans, I really don't remember, but I remember the offense was the one getting penalties throughout the whole game. Today, the special teams was bad, but is that coaching or is it execution? Because today, you have a missed field goal, which is execution. Then you have the bot snap. So is that coaching, or is that just the long snapper just failing to execute a snap? And then we also had the block punt. But then towards the end of the game, when we finally punted back to the Patriots, we did have a coverage guy right there about to tackle the guy, and he just whiffs on the tackle. He doesn't get him down. So is that coaching? Because it seems like the guys are kind of in the right place for those kind of things, and it's just not executed properly. But to go to what you're saying about the overall, like the looseness of the team, it's almost like a lack of focus, because I think Mike McDaniel was so player friendly and he runs a loose ship, and the incidents with Tyreek Hill, it's just like there's no set of repercussions if any of these players screw up, or if they act immature, or if they post something online, or if they have an off-field incident. It just seems like, okay, you went through that. Okay, let's just forget about it, and things will just continue as they go. And it just seems like there's no sense of, I guess I'll loosely use the word fear from the coaching staff to see like, oh, if I don't do my job correctly, I'm either going to get punished, bench, lose my job. Like there's no fear of that. It's just like, oh, we're just going to make a mistake and that's okay. And there's no sort of repercussions or consequences for it. So I think it's just, I just think McDaniel was running a very loose ship as a head coach, and as time goes on and players see that, then the players act loose and they lose focus, and then things just fall apart over time.
Coach Eric, this is something that I feel like you can attest to. You being a coach yourself, I'm sure that you've had these moments where at what point is it time to like be the player's friend? And at what point do you feel like, okay, now it's time to actually whip some tails? Because I feel like the balance is not being maintained in Miami.
Yeah, I agree. And I tweeted something similar to that earlier about not seeing the changes. It's definitely a fine line to walk. I saw some people saying that Tyreek Hill should be benched, and it was never going to happen. But when you look at a player like that, like that's not going to get you the results that you want with somebody like that. But, McDaniel in last week's press conferences had talked about, difficult conversations and changes being made, and none of that happened. Like everybody that was starting was, except injury related stuff, were still the same players. The one that we had talked about before was Rob Jones was still in the lineup. And I don't know how he did today specifically. I didn't do any grading yet, obviously. But that was a player that I would not have had in the starting lineup this week based on how he had performed over the last couple of weeks. You look at, some of the other players and you could say something similar. And really the only thing that I saw change today was the way that McDaniel called the game. And we've talked about that, his focus on running the ball specifically to the inside. We didn't see as many jet sweeps or crack tosses, stuff like that. Really committed to running the ball inside, keeping things simple. But that was really the only thing that I saw changing. And, I agree with Eric that on that 4th and 1, I'd have been perfectly fine with McDaniel going on it based on the issues that they've had with special teams earlier in the game. And I kind of, started to ask myself, like, is that why he's been so aggressive on 4th down earlier in the season? Because he just doesn't trust the special teams. But to go up on a podium and to say that tough conversations are going to have and that, are going to need to be had and that changes are going to be made, and then to not really see that, like, I don't know what he did. Did he have a tough conversation and bring somebody in the coach's office and say, hey buddy, you got to play better next week? I don't feel like there's any accountability that, when you struggle, that your job is on the line.
I mean, let's be real though. If we're going to talk about accountability and making changes, you brought it up, Coach. Like McDaniel was the one who made most of the changes. The changes came from himself, and true to form, we made a change, and at least something looked a little better. It looked better because they were actually able to move the football instead of going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out every other drive. They were actually moving the football, and yes, that had a lot to do with how McDaniel was calling plays. So, if anything else, if the changes came from him, because we'd been calling for him to give up the play calling for a while because he wouldn't change the way he was doing things, so he finally did. And lo and behold, Miami actually won the game. Again, he made the conscious decision to say, I'm not going for it on 4th and whatever. I'm just going to kick the field goal. I'm going to take the points when they present themselves, even on 4th and 1. And there were people on Twitter, I saw them, I saw the tweets that it's 4th and 1. You have an opportunity. You're driving. Why on earth would you take the field goal when you have a chance to score a touchdown? The difference was made. We kicked that field goal. We took the points, and now we're talking about a win instead of a loss. If he hadn't have done it and they failed, then of course hindsight would have been 2020, and then we would have said, why didn't he just take the points when he took them? This time he took the points. Knowing how badly they've been trying to score, knowing how difficult it's been, like pulling teeth just to get even field goals, taking them when they presented themselves was the right call, in my opinion. And the fact that he took it this time instead of just saying, you know what, I'm going to trust my guys. I'm going to chance them. They're going to get that 4th and 1. They haven't been able to push that 4th and 1 in forever. If the other team cheats up and says that, you know what, I'm just going to shove you out of their way, they've shown that they can do that with this line. That's too much for them to handle. So
we can flip that argument the other way, though, too. I mean, the special teams had failed on 2 previous field goals. Plus, you had the punt block or the punt issue. It's easy to sit here now and say, yeah, they made the field goal. It was a right choice to do that. But if they went out there and instead of, doinking it off a crossbar or not being able to snap it, that this time it gets blocked and we find another way to fail a field goal? Are we still sitting here and saying that trying to go for the points there was the right way to go? So it's easy to sit here and, say that it was the right thing because we got the points. Obviously it worked out. But I don't think that just eliminates makes it that clear that was the only choice there.
All right, I'll put it up to a vote. Eric Wiedeke, do you think taking the points was the right move? Would you?
I mean,
let me rephrase the question. Would you have gone for it?
I'll say yeah.
Okay, I'll rephrase the question. Would you have gone
Yes.
for it?
In the moment, I'm going. In the moment, I was going for that. Yes. In the moment, absolutely.
Ron, would you have done it?
No, I wanted him to. I was a proponent of punt or field goal on all fourth downs this game. This was the game to do that. This was the game to do that. Unless it was a situation where you're punting when in 30 seconds left and you have to score or something. You know what I mean? This was the game to do that. And when you do either do the whole analytics thing, right? Where you're going to, go for it on fourth down all the time within whatever, depending on what it is, or you're not going to, you have to be extremely consistent with it. That's the way analytics works. This time they decided to be consistent with, we're either punting or kicking a field goal on fourth downs, period, end of story. That's what we're doing in this game. It's just the whole concept of the entire game. If you're picking and choosing, well, here this and here no, that's where McDaniel gets in trouble. So I was glad that he went into the game, decided here's the philosophy I think we need for this game to help Huntley, to help the offense, to help the team, to help the defense, more importantly than anything, helping the defense. I'm going to do it this way. And he stuck to that. He probably went against his own instincts too. He probably had to fight himself on some of these because normally we know he'd be going for it. So I was glad to see that. And I think it's a bit ridiculous that we asked him to go and make changes and do certain things. He did those things and we're still in here finding other ways why we don't like him, even though we just won and he did the things we've been bitching that he wouldn't do. I just find that ridiculous, honestly.
All right. My vote, I guess. All right. So, and when I was watching the game, I wanted him to go for it. I was like, look, if you're going to go for it on fourth down, now's the time to do it. We're about to enter the fourth quarter. I think a touchdown could put this game away. I think you'd automatically get the win, or at least close to it. So I really wanted him to go for it. However, taking the points, fine too. I mean, it's a struggle to score points for your offense anyway. So I think I was leaning towards him going for it. Obviously we got the win by taking the points, whatever. But I will say this: I wish he would not have gone for it all those other times in the previous games, especially when it's early on and the game's not on the line, and you're playing with your backup quarterback, third quarterback, fourth quarterback. You just have to know the situation, be more conservative. So, I mean, if you would have done that like 2 games ago, maybe we're talking about 2 more wins or at least 1 more win, because in the Seahawks games, there were so many penalties. The Seahawks were just collapsing and just debacling along the way. If you coached more conservatively, you probably would have won that one. We probably could have won that one against the Titans too, if you just
was
not going for it with jet sweeps or runs to the outside on third and fourth and shorts.
So he learned his lesson and then implemented change based off those lessons he's learned. And then we're complaining about what he didn't do the previous game.
I'm not complaining.
Now, if he goes back to his old ways next game, then I say we complain. But right now I say we celebrate the fact that at least for this game, it's only 1 game, mind you, and we know what Mike McDaniel's been for the last, 37, 8, 9 games, whatever it's been. He's coached here, but, I think he's learned now. Holy crap. I went against my instinct of being aggressive, doing sweeps like the one guy that said it would have been a sweep or something like that, or a double reverse or something at 4th and 1 and all that. And then he got a win. And he's like, holy crap. I've got a team that can win by just playing some conventional football when it's needed. I say we celebrate that right now and watch closely what he might do in future games. We certainly can't control, he can't change what he did in Seattle.
I think it also gives the fans, the organization, and the team hope moving forward, knowing that he kind of changed his recipe for winning and actually went more conservative. I think it shows that he is able to adapt as much as we thought that he would never do it. He got the win. I think he's actually realized, like, hey, maybe this has been why NFL teams run traditional offenses here and there, and they don't go full throttle all the time. But I mean, it's hope moving forward. Hopefully he sticks with it because we, our quarterbacks are banged up, and that's just, you just have to change things up. You can't coach as aggressively when a lot of your guys are injured.
And that's something that we're going to be working on during the bye week. So Miami has a week off. We have a week off. Thank God. we can relax and enjoy we remember a win the last time we played. So I'll spend some time with my family, get to enjoy a Sunday, not have to worry about football that week. But with that being said, obviously the next game, October 20th against the Indianapolis Colts. We have players that we are hoping to get back. Devon Achane went out with a concussion. Hopefully that is not going to be sticking for very long. Speaking of concussions, the NFL conspiracy strikes again, because did any of y'all see Josh Allen absolutely slam his head into the turf, go out briefly, and then he's like, I'm okay, coach, I can still play. And he went back in there and he promptly lost the game for Buffalo. But is anybody going to investigate the Bills? No. Okay, sure. Let's just roll with it. Okay. It's okay. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here.
The rules don't apply for everybody.
One play for that.
I mean, doesn't he have to be evaluated or whatever? Like the dude obviously wasn't right.
Even if he came back in, I feel like he should have had to go in the tent and get evaluated. But I read something saying that he was only out for one play.
He needs to get evaluated. This is how it is, especially if the officials spot him and they pull him to the side. Maybe I don't know if they spotted him and pulled him to the side officially, but I don't know. I didn't see it, to be honest with you, so I have no idea.
Maybe the spotter was taking a bathroom break.
Yeah,
because everybody could spot that one.
I said it on OnlyFans. It's the spotter only counts for little guys. Big guys like Josh Allen, the big strong guys. They're the NFL poster children. Like they don't get that sort of treatment. They're like, no, we need you to keep playing. So go. We didn't
the
see
greatness of Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, like it's Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. I see nothing. Nothing happened. It never happened. Don't look there. Josh Allen is fine. Everything is copacetic here. But that's where a lot of the frustration comes in, because when it comes to Tua, and I get it, I'm not dismissing what happened with Tua. What I'm saying, though, is that if you are going to be so hardcore, hell-bent on making sure that the concussion protocol is followed to the letter, and that anybody who shows any signs or symptoms of a concussion, these guys need to be evaluated pronto. They need to be potentially taken out of the game altogether for their own health and safety. If you're going to do that, again, you need to do it for everybody, because now we've had 2 weeks in a row where we have had a very important player on a team, a very marketable team, I might add, Lane Johnson of the Philadelphia Eagles, vomiting on the side of the field and had to leave the game, because that's, again, when you are barfing because your body literally cannot contain its insides anymore because of how hard your head was hit, that would indicate that you need to spend a few weeks out. And yet 1 week later, Lane Johnson is in there like it never happened. There was nothing to see here. He just had a bad stomach ache that day. That's all it was, folks. That's why he was vomiting. He had some bad sushi the night before. That's all it was. And now we have here Josh Allen. Same thing. Like, he hits his head on the turf. He's all wibbly, he's wobbly, and then he goes back in the game and nothing happened. Nothing happened. Now, people could make the argument, well, that's what happened with Tua when he went back into the Bills game or whatever. Okay, fine. But even then, people were like, there's something very suspicious here. There's something very fishy. We need to look into this very closely. Are we going to get Buffalo that same scrutiny? Are we going to look at them and say, you guys are doing something fishy and we need to take a look at what's happening here. We need to actually look at Josh Allen and see if he does have a concussion. I don't think we're going to hear anything more about it. I think he's going to say, well, it was just a tough game for Buffalo, but Josh Allen's going to have a chance to lead them to victory the next week. I think that's the last we're going to hear of it. I really believe it.
Well, going back to Buffalo again, I mean, what about DeMar Hamlin? I mean, he literally almost died on the field. The game had to be postponed. And I don't think we heard as much of a ruckus of whether or not he needed to return to football and safely play. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you guys caught on to that. Maybe that did happen, but I don't remember it that way. I just remember, he's going to come back. He's going to play and we're good. We're fine. But with Tua, it's just always some sort of overblown thing. With Tua, it's like ever since he got into the NFL and met with the Dolphins during the combine, it's just been a weird transition of like just relationships, and like everything is about like him joining the Dolphins has just been it's been controversial, and like there's been so many storylines. It's a really weird thing, and when all this guy does is just do the right thing, say the right thing, play hard, comes back, he improves.
I'm gonna tell you what it is. Here's my conspiracy, Mike. You ready for this? The NFL and their sponsors, their advertisers, they did not want Tua in Miami. They wanted Tua to go to LA so that they could advertise the ever-living crap out of him, because he already had all this hype, all this mania from Alabama. He was the poster child for college football as the greatest NFL college quarterback aside from Joe Burrow. That whole time, it was Tua mania, tank for Tua. Every team wanted Tua. Miami got him. And Miami is not a team that the NFL, the marketers, the advertisers, the commercial people, they're not happy with it. They don't like it. They don't like that Tua went to Miami. They wanted him to go to LA because it's a lot easier to take someone like Tua, who was already a superstar college quarterback who was going to light up the NFL in ways that we had never seen before. And then there was Justin Herbert, who had already lost all of his steam, and they were looking at him. He's Ryan Tannehill 2.0. That's the guy they wanted to go to Miami. We can just put Herbert aside. We don't need to worry about him, but let's go ahead and make a hell of a ton of money on Tua. But Tua landed in Miami. They don't like that. And that's my conspiracy as to why this whole thing has gone on with Tua. Like they're just pissed off that Tua landed in Miami and not somewhere where they can market the hell out of him.
I mean, I don't know if I agree or not, but at least I got some sort of take on it, because I've been trying to figure it out. I'm like, why is it always him? Why are they always going after him? How come like whatever happens to him and him getting injured, like it's just always a big story. And like, it doesn't matter if any other players have the same type of injury or come back from an even worse injury. We just don't seem to talk about it enough. It's not as polarizing for some reason. I never got it.
I don't know. Am I out of bounds? I said Eric's plural. We'll let you guys which one.
I mean, I don't think Miami is that much. Because you got to consider which LA franchise he would have gone to.
LA is LA.
Gone to the Chargers.
LA is LA.
No. No. The Rams and the Chargers are not the same in that market. They are not even close. I mean, if that was the case, Justin Herbert would be marketed way more than he is. Tua is the one in the Paramount commercials. I know Justin Herbert has his own, but I think Tua gets more national love there. So I don't really think it's anything beyond the fact that when Tua gets injured, his concussions just tend to visibly look worse, whether they medically are or aren't. And I think that's what gets the reactions out of everyone. That's really all that I think that is.
I think the first official one during that Bengals game on Thursday was the one that scared everybody. And I think that was because that was the official first one, and that's the way it looked. It just scared everybody to be like,
no, they were already.
He takes another one.
They were already they were already looking at this guy like, whoa, what are the Dolphins doing? That was national. It was national coverage. Like, how could they let Tua go back in the game against Buffalo? That's unacceptable. It's just not right. The Dolphins deserve to be punished for that. That was all the talking points. That was before the Bengals game. It was there was like the immediate aftermath, immediate. So that's why I personally feel the way that I feel, because like you said, ever since he got to Miami, it's been like this. I know that the Rams and the Chargers are the same, but it's still Los Angeles, man. Like the location.
The Josh Allen thing is egregious, and it is bad, and I think that it will be talked about to some extent. I actually do believe that. But my question is, when he got up, did he look like a punch-drunk boxer? Because that's what everybody keyed in on. That's what everybody keyed in on with the Tua thing, was that he looked like a boxer that had just gone 10 rounds with the wobbly knees. That's why everybody felt that way about the whole Buffalo thing. If it was just he had snapped back, hit his head, got up, and walked off the field normally, I don't think anyone looks twice at it.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and get ready to call it. We ended up talking more about Tua than we did the actual game.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the reality is that as much we won, but there's not much to talk about. Like, the running game did good, defense almost blew it, but didn't, thanks to to the technicalities of back of the end zone rules. So, yay! Like, we won. McDaniel learned how to kick field goals. That's the takeaway.
Two bad 1-3 teams is going at it. We just happen to play better. The Dolphins just happened to play a little bit better than the Patriots. I mean, both teams had times to close the game away. The Dolphins, just like team statistics, we made almost half the penalties that the Patriots did. We just played a little bit better in certain moments, and we were just able to close the game. But it was just two bad teams. I mean, it's not a Dolphins game without a bunch of penalty flags just flying all over the place.
New England had most of them.
Yeah, they did, and I mean that hurt them more than it hurt us. It's about, sometimes I think about, like, in games like this, it's just who makes the less mistakes, who makes more positive plays than the other team, and then the Dolphins just happen to capitalize in certain moments. So we just got it. I mean, the Patriots almost stole it from us. It was that close.
That's the scary thing. But again, regardless of the how and the why, Miami now sits at 2-3, and I think they're second place now in the division.
Yeah, I think so. So,
yep.
Congratulations, Miami. Your season is still very much alive. We really need Tua back. Here's one final thought that I'll give. I wish that Tua could have a few more of the pockets that Huntley somehow ended up having today, because even though there were a lot of guys coming for him today, there were a couple of moments where I saw that Huntley could just sit back there and look around, even though he was panicking in the process of being able to sit back there because he'd already been hit so many times that he wasn't able to be comfortable. But he had the time. He could look around. Like, my God, man, give Tua a couple shots like that. That means Tua's going to find somebody deep down the field instead of having to throw a bullet right into Jonnu Smith's chest 5 feet away. So,
all those little comeback routes, all those hooks and buttons and all those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But
is it just like, it doesn't feel like to you that Huntley's like release is really slow? Like, the guy just kind of like holds it for an extra second longer, like he's winding up a catapult.
He actually throws it like a baseball player. So he'll do the whole, like, pull it all the way back here before coming forward. That's why it looks that way.
Yeah,
I think that's compounded by how quick Tua is. That we're used to seeing Tua, and Tua's release being quicker than almost everybody in the NFL. And when you go from that to somebody who is below average in terms of how quick he gets the ball out, then it's going to look a lot different.
Yeah, there's actually pictures that they showed last year. I think it was during the Eagles game. Tua just gets the ball. His release is so fast that and we always talk about Dan Marino's quick release, and they actually had like the side-by-side like pictures and video where like the release is the same. It's almost as quick. I used to tell my friend, and he thought I was being ridiculous. I'm like, dude, he throws the ball. Like, he doesn't have the arm strength of Marino or the stature or anything like that, but like the way he just simply throws it and it comes out of his hands was very similar to Marino, in my opinion. And that was before they even showed it on the Eagles game. And he thought I was being ridiculous. But I'm like, I don't know, man. It's actually pretty similar. So.
And I also say this about Huntley. Again, we really need Tua back. Huntley, as athletic as the guy is, he throws some dead ducks, man. Like his passes float. Like you think Tua throws floaters? Oh my God, Huntley like throws balloons out there for jump balls.
A lot of that's footwork. I mean, that's when he's getting off platform. You know, when he's able to hit the top of his drop and let it rip, like his arm looks good. But you know, if it goes beyond that and he starts having to go to a second or third read and his feet get off platform, that's when you see those ducks.
Hey, it doesn't need to be pretty. We're on our fourth quarterback right now. We just need to get the win. It doesn't need to be pretty.
Yep, doesn't need to be pretty. Miami won 15-10, 2-3. Let's go and let's take our break. Let's get recuperated. My God, like after the bye, Mike McDaniel better be looking at himself in the mirror and being like, "Hey, whatever you did last week, it worked. Let's keep doing it. Like, don't go back to just like, okay, we got everybody off our backs. Let's go back to doing what we want to do. Learn from your mistakes. Prove that this wasn't a fluke, Coach McDaniel. This is the way to go, at least until Tua gets back." All right. Everybody, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you to the Real Estate Shoppe for sponsoring this show. And of course, we also have prizepicks.com. Use the promo code 5. That's FIVE. They'll match up to $50 when you put in a $5 bet. That's all you have to do to get that money in. Also, we have jerseys305.com. You can use the promo code 5 over there, and you'll get 10% off of the memorabilia. We actually have some reason to buy Dolphin stuff again. Like the season's not over. It's not over yet, ladies and gentlemen. We're not sunk yet. We've still got something here. All right. We will see you Tuesday, Pulse of Fins Nation. Coach, I'm sure you and Hussam have a scouting combine going to be coming up shortly. Plenty of Dolphins content coming up. And in the meantime, if you really don't care about the Dolphins, you can watch the Hurricanes because the Hurricanes are good again this year. All right. We're going to be done here. See you all next week. No, not next week. Not for post game. We're taking a bye week. See you at Pulse of Fins Nation.